We're back at it again with another Battlefront update. The first original Trilogy game update is out now, and it's made a lot of people happy. Not only the obvious original Trilogy fans, but as well both Clone Wars and co-op fans. Dropping into the game huge additions to the mode with new locations from both eras. And since the update's release last Wednesday, we've been seeing a few new teases from DICE regarding future content. And along with that, some very cool new leaks datamined in the game files like a loadout system, the very first new confirmed original Trilogy Supremacy map, and even the 3D model of a potential new reinforcement. As always, we'll be covering all of this and more in today's video. And before we get into any of that, but a quick reminder, as if you do like these type of videos, then do remember to give it a like to show your support for not only this update series, but also the content within it. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Starting things off, I wanted to quickly go over some of the important tweets made by DICE community manager Ben Walk over the past few days, before we really get into the meat and potatoes of the video. The first is the PSA tweet he put out detailing some quick facts stating the following. New weapons are now found in your crates when unlocked, visual player damage score is known and was listed in our release notes, AI and co-op with wrong appearances being worked on, and investigating lighting issue on victory pose screen. Now the big one here is of course the glitch on AI on certain maps wearing completely wrong outfits, like for example the Imperial officer on Hoth donning a Rebel officer uniform instead. Which really does kinda beg the question if DICE did truly test these co-op maps before releasing them. I know DICE is rushing through the original Trilogy and all of that, but stuff like this is pretty ridiculous in all honesty. Another fix Ben outlined is that the first phase of Jabba's Palace in co-op mode is going to be sorted out in the next patch too. As we all know by now, when playing that map as the Imperials, all the rebels basically spawn in from one doorway. And at that point, it's pretty much easy pickings for the imps. Following up on that, Ben as well disclosed that in March, both the Yavin Ceremony Luke and Princess Leia of Alderaan skins would be making a comeback as event-timed appearances. Which is a great idea because if you didn't get them already before, then of course your best bet would be to try to get them now during the original Trilogy season. And speaking about appearances, Ben once again has continued to tease us about getting some new villain appearances in the game. And judging how much lately he's been doing this, then I can only assume we might be getting them soon. Considering that March is part of the original Trilogy season, I still feel we may get something then for a potential Vader or Palpatine appearance. In addition to that, seeing as Ben also teased us about Shore Trooper appearances showing up in March, then it's safe to say we could be getting some new Trooper appearances then too. And if that's the case, then sure, topping that off with some villain appearances would be a neat thing for DICE to do. When asked if DICE could ever be adding Crate to Heroes vs Villains, co-op mode, or Supremacy, Ben didn't outright say no to the question, which seems there is some leeway or hope in it coming to at least one of those modes in the future. Because when something for sure isn't coming or isn't getting changed, then Ben will outright say no. Like for example, when asked if DICE would consider changing the Ewok reinforcement to be exclusive to Endor only, then Ben of course had no issue giving a flat out no answer to this. So yeah, if you're not a fan of seeing Ewoks on every single planet in the game, then don't count on that ever changing. And on one final note to add, Ben today indicated that there will be other Triple XP events happening in March too, and that the bonus for this weekend may be extended until Monday. Which is of course due to the EA server outage happening today for not only Battlefront 2, but for all EA titles. So if today's server outage does continue onto Sunday as well, then definitely expect to see this weekend's Triple XP event to be extended. Now moving on to the leaks, as per usual, the recent update contained some very interesting files hidden away in the game code. And without any surprise, data miners have been quick to discover these secrets left over by DICE. The first one we'll go over is the big one that has the most impact overall gameplay-wise, and that is the custom multiple loadout system. Dataminer Shabby59 over on Reddit found that DICE have indeed created an entire loadout system, allowing players to make 3 custom loadouts per class, reinforcement, and heroes for star cards and weapons. And just based on looks alone from what we can see here, this system seems pretty much finished and ready for release. Of course, I'm sure there are some areas that still need to be tweaked here and there before DICE do that, but honestly, I would not be surprised if we do get to see this come in the March update, considering multiple custom loadouts were already something teased by DICE for months now, and the fact that almost every AAA multiplayer shooter game out there has multiple weapon loadout options available, then I can see DICE wanting to release this sooner rather than later, as they're essentially playing catch up at this point. But with that said, just because this is in the game files doesn't necessarily confirm or guarantee we'll be instantly getting it, so keep that in mind. Now, is there a good chance multiple loadouts will be included in the March update? Heck yes. Is it guaranteed? Unfortunately not. Which brings us to the next leak by the same data miner, and that is concerning offline co-op. As stated by Shabby59, there seems to be code for a new mode that DICE are tinkering with in instant action, and apparently it's called Missions, which sees you either attack or defend depending which faction and map you're playing on. And yeah, this is basically 99% single-player offline co-op, just with it being called Missions instead. As well, calling it offline co-op wouldn't make sense, considering there still seems to not be any split-screen functionality added in for this mode, which mind you is still a bummer for console players. But yeah, as already seen of modders, making co-op mode available for offline play was definitely possible since all you're dealing with is a bunch of bots rather than real players. Which is a bit surprising why DICE never released this so-called mission mode last year around the same time as co-op mode. But hey, better now than later, right? With that said, it is interesting to point out that when someone asked Ben a question in French if offline co-op would ever be coming to the game, he answered back by saying it's something we're thinking about, but we don't have any information to share on the subject. And as we can see from the leaks now, then yes, DICE are doing more than just thinking about it, if you know what I mean, as they for the most part have already done quite a bit of development on it. However, at the same time, with Ben being hesitant on talking more on the subject, then that leads me to believe it's not very likely, I suppose, we'll be seeing these offline missions released in March. Of course, this could change later in March, but for now, it's too early to really tell for sure. And for the final leak that also came from Shabby59 is we've got our first confirmed original Trilogy map for Supremacy mode next to Death Star 2 and Scarif, and that is Yavin 4, which has recently appeared in the game code. Now, this isn't really shocking news at all, as I already speculated we would be getting Yavin 4 in Supremacy, as it was the first map leaked in co-op mode before, and now it's the first map to be leaked for Supremacy mode. And really, it's just too much of an iconic original Trilogy map for DICE to not include in Supremacy. Regardless, I had to mention this as it was found in the game code, and strangely enough, it's the only original Trilogy map there with a Supremacy map. Now, I also still firmly believe we'll be getting a Tatooine Supremacy map as well, since that map was leaked back since early 2019, but it is odd how DICE decided to remove that from the code and yet out of the blue add Yavin 4 Supremacy. Either way, I thought this was interesting and worth noting, especially for all the folks keen on hearing the latest information when it comes to the original Trilogy Supremacy news. And don't worry, we're not done here with the leaks just yet, as another data miner called 444th Cookie recently came across assets in the game code for a male ISB agent, to which they ended up making this as a mod so it would be playable in the game for anyone interested. And when asked about it, 444th Cookie did confirm this was already indeed in the game files, and he only made a mod for it just so more people could have access to the unused male ISB agent. This discovery then leads me to believe that it's likely at one point DICE were considering on releasing him as the final ISB agent for the game. However, for one reason or another, their decision on this was clearly changed and they decided to go with the female ISB agent instead. But seeing as they do already have assets for a male ISB agent ready to go in the game files that's currently being unused, then I do think DICE should at least make an optional skin for the ISB agent, especially for all those folks who currently aren't happy that they don't have an option on what gender their ISB agent is. However, Ben has made it clear over on Twitter that DICE have no plans on releasing the male ISB agent, so all those assets are going to stay unused officially in the game. Now, I'd like to think DICE have a good reason for not doing this, but thus far at least we've yet to learn why. Anyways, the last leak we have for you today comes from user Worshipfulness from Reddit, who discovered the unused 3D model of the Imperial Shadow Trooper. Now, it should be noted that the Shadow Trooper texture files have been in the game code for quite a while now, but not the actual 3D model from what I'm aware of and as stated by Worshipfulness. And if that's the case, why would DICE add the 3D Shadow Trooper model into the game code in the last game update? It could still easily be a throwaway for them, or maybe something more. Either way, this is a pretty exciting discovery made by Worshipfulness, and who knows, maybe, just maybe, it could be a tease for a new Imperial reinforcement. Then again, according to Worshipfulness, not likely because it's a visual unlock asset, meaning that's what DICE calls appearances in the game code. So as of right now, if this does get released in March, then it will only be a trooper or a reinforcement skin. On the other hand, who knows, as this could easily change in the next few weeks. Now, I personally am not a big fan of the Shadow Trooper, and I would rather if DICE do add a new Imperial reinforcement than they do something more unique, at least aesthetic-wise, like a security droid or an Imperial commando. But hey, at the same time, I do know there's a big crowd of people out there who really do love the Shadow Trooper aesthetic, and that's cool. So if by the off chance this is a sign that DICE are actually planning on adding them into the game, then it's gonna make a lot of folks happy. Now, as a nice little bonus, user Fikirk on Reddit was able to collect all the values of the new weapons in arcade mode and create this great little handy stat sheet for them. I know there are a lot of questions being raised in my last livestream regarding how strong each weapon is, especially at different ranges, so I know this information is going to be helpful for a lot of people. Judging on the stats at face value, it's easy to see just how powerful and overall a better weapon the T-21 is, especially over the Cycler rifle. Then again, at the same time, it's also important to consider the fact that the T-21 has lower aiming precision, zooming capabilities, and projectile speed than the Cycler rifle. So really, all of these make the Cycler rifle superior when attesting to longer range targets when compared to the T-21. Although in the end, as I always say, the best weapon is of course the one that fits your playstyle. But that'll do it for this Battlefront update. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel to not only support it, but keep up with Star Wars news, gaming, and canon lore released every week. And consider following me on Twitter and Facebook to never miss out on the latest Star Wars content. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.